Chris, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Hey, good to be with you. How's it going?
Hey, good. We're just, we're talking all about Alabama football, 115 days away, and, we got different scenarios that Alabama can be in the college football playoffs, and we're trying to create some potential hurdles, but it's very difficult as you look at this Crimson Tide team right now.
Well, I would think the SEC championship game, and then obviously playoffs are a little different now. You when you got right into the championship game off the winning your conference and getting invited to two teams, you're already there. Now you got to win one to get into that championship game. So, I would suspect there's going to be three tough games for sure, and it's likely at the end of the year though. So, we've talked about it in one of the last visits, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, and I can't remember now, about that this schedule is very soft looking, which I just know it just tickles Nick Pink to hear that, because the reality is you've got to focus in on playing to your standard, because you've got to. I think that's always the danger, Ryan, is that you play and people normally on the outside look strictly at the result. You win the game, everything's great. You lose a game and you play well and you do things and somebody plays better and beats you. Oh, that's not acceptable. What did you do wrong? You lost. You're not supposed to lose. It can't happen. And yet when you win, everything gets kind of swept under the rug. Well, those are the seeds of, problems potentially if you don't play your best football. So it's important to be able to kind of challenge yourself to get better each and every week, because I think this is going to be one of those years. And listen, we'll look back in October and, I don't know who, when, or where, or November somewhere, we're going to say, you know what, this game's going to be a little bit tougher than we thought back in May or June or July. Now, who that's going to be, don't know. If we talk about it now, but Auburn will be likely a pretty good team. You don't know. I don't think LSU is going to be great, but you never know. Mississippi State has a chance to be a really good team, but are those teams really a threat to win? Probably not, unless Alabama helps the cause out a lot.
Let me go to Tosh Lapoy here for just a couple of minutes. How concerning? Just look at it, okay? But I know we have to put that Nick Saban factor because it's his defense. It's his mark. How concerning is it that you've got a new-time play caller on that side?
Well, I think it's always concerning. Coaches by nature, we're always kind of – you love that stability, although we talked about it last week, how the new blood is good and it's challenging. And, look, it is what it is, to use that tired, worn-out saying. There is going to be some unknowns. He's going to be in a situation, Tasha, that he hasn't been before. There's going to be some things that come up, but it's not like he's riding that, rowing that boat alone. He's got some people that are really driving that thing and allowing him to grow. And I think that there was a lot of, if you looked at the past couple of guys, come with, a lot of pedigree, around Nick. This is a guy that's been around the program. So listen, I think is it going to be seamless and without any bumps in the road? No, I don't. It never is. But again, to go back to what we were just talking about, they're so much better, and that even if they, it's not so much if you make mistakes, Ryan. It's that you don't make the same ones over and over again. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to mess up as long as you learn from it. That's the real key. And as long as they get better, I would think that there's a concern with Taj. When I say a concern, it's a concern to have somebody new. But if he didn't believe he was the best guy, that he could have done something differently. So that, to me, should kind of cause the Bama fans concerns or nerves at this point. And I'll say this, just like a player is not the same week 7 or 8 or 10, coaches are not the same either once they get deeper into that process. So in other words, he's going to have a lot more confidence week 8 or week 10 because it's going to be a little bit more old hat than at the beginning of the year.
How important or how much of a concern do you think it can be if not managed correctly with this quarterback competition?
Oh, I think it can be a distraction, and even somebody that is the master of eliminating the distraction, certainly on the inside, on the outside, I think it could be there. I think this. I think we're at a interesting time, and I'm not trying to, say something that maybe is going to create news now, but this is a gut feeling. It's just me, and no one's told me this. It's just a gut feeling that I believe that if Jalen Hurts is going to transfer, I think it's going to happen and going to happen soon. I think that if he shows up and he's in the summer and he's there, I think he's all in. I think he's all in if he comes in at that point. Now, it doesn't mean that he can't leave after the summer session or what have you. It could happen. He could, something could happen, or somebody could whisper in his ear, his dad or whatever, and he may change his mind. But it's just a general feeling that, if I were advising somebody in that situation, look, you have to look at it. You have to look at all situations. The grass is not always greener somewhere else. But look, if you're going to do it, then you need to do it now. You need to get wherever you want to be by summer. And whether that's where you're at or where you're going, I think after the summer, it just doesn't make any sense to be moving during the summer or late in the summer. That's just, as you know, we call it fall practice. It's August, and that's when it's going. So I think that I don't think it's going to be a distraction, except for right now. And I think that's only if there's that window where he might leave. I think once he's there, I think he probably stays. If he stays and then he leaves before the start of fall camp, then it'll be a story. But, they're going to move on. I think the only issue is going to be at that point is if you get an injury now, then with Tua, then you'd have a problem not having a quality backup. But I think it'll be managed as good as it can manage it in this current situation, because nobody controls the message better than Saban. So if anybody can control it, he can. But you can't completely control the narrative outside the building.
How much of a demand would be there if Jalen decided to leave?
Oh, I think there'll be some people. Here's the thing about it. I mean, I think he would want to go somewhere where he could, somebody he's familiar with. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, where the favorite, if he were to leave, where the favorite is, and that's back with Lane Kiffin. That's where the favorite, would be my guess where he would go. Now, does he want to go to another, big Power 5 type school? Perhaps. I don't know. I mean, there be some people that would be interested? Absolutely. We're seeing that more and more today. I mean, it's almost like, people say, boy, it's a slow news time. And I'm like, slow news? Heck. I mean, we got a quarterback from Ohio State that's transferring and is looking at schools, and LSU's recruiting them, and the running back out of California that transferred is going to – it's like we got like college free agency now with all these graduate transfers and kids coming in early. So I think that there would be a number of people that would be interested, and perhaps somewhere in Texas that maybe he might want to be. I just don't know that he's taken it that far, but I think they'd be a number of teams interested, and you can figure out some of the teams in the offenses where it might be a fit. Certainly with his athletic qualities, and in some of the run-pass option offenses, I think he can be really successful as a pure passer, which, again, most people are running a different type of offenses. I think he'd be a fit in a lot of places.
But, Chris, when you look at Jalen Hurts, I think this is the risk that you take. And I'm not looking at it from a Nick Saban obstacle or optics. I'm looking at it from just Jalen Hurts. If he goes through, let's say he goes through the summer, and he goes through camp for, let's say, the first scrimmage or the second scrimmage, if he decides to stay, at that point, he's got to make a decision. He's got to know, do I have a chance of winning this thing, or am I going to leave? Because at that point, he's got to make a decision like August the 10th, 15th. Like you said, it'd be perfect now if that's what he wants to do. But if he goes through camp, because if he waits, school's going to be starting, fall semester is going to be beginning, and then it's going to be too late. And then if you stay here, then what do? You risk a year of eligibility for mop-up duty if he does not win the starting quarterback job.
Well, I think internally you have to have a plan for how you, and I don't think you run your offense to appease a player, but I do think there's some things that he can do to help. In a spot role, in certain packages that you might want to have, just like Tua got some snaps. I think that Jalen would get some. I think there's a real opportunity, better than most people might think, that both of these guys are going to play. Because I think we talked about the schedule. I think that there'll be a lot of those opportunities. Now, is he going to start? I mean, I think that is unlikely. But again, if it's me, I think he pretty much knows where it is. I mean, at this point, I know it's an open competition and whatnot, but the reality is he's fighting a little bit of an uphill battle, and barring an injury, which, again, Tua had and could affect this race, to me, I think he's either in. If he's here in the summer, I say he stays in. I think if he's deciding on August 1st to leave, I just don't know that that's the best. Personally, I don't think that's a good thing for him. I would say that, look, if you really, it's in your heart to leave, do it now. Do it now. Or if you come in the summer, then I think stick it out. I think that things can work out better. Yeah, you can go somewhere else. My concern with him is there are two things you got to look at. One, your college career. And your college career has been a very successful one thus far. You can go somewhere else and start somewhere else and play somewhere else and have success. I understand the desire to be a quarterback, but let me just tell you, as a 36-year veteran, as an NFL scout, he's not going to play quarterback in the NFL, okay? And again, shouldn't be the only thing, but everyone wants a chance to play and get a bite at that apple and get their chance. So to me, I would be open if I were him. If it were me, and that's how I look at it, I would want to say, look, Coach, I want to do whatever I can to get on the field and be helpful. Now, my first role is going to be to compete and learn the quarterback position, continue to learn and develop, and be ready to play quarterback if you need me. If you choose me, or if I have to go in for whatever reason, sickness, illness, suspension, whatever, I'm ready to go. But I would be open to doing some other things in a package where you have both quarterbacks in. He's in the slot. You're moving. I think you can do some things like that can really allow his ability, not as a running back, because every one of those running backs that they've recruited are better runners than Jalen as a running back. Now, as a running quarterback, he's really good. I think you can almost add a new dynamic to your offense in certain packages to where it could make you even more challenging as you get into the deeper part of your schedule, meaning playoff run. And by the way, and I don't think you're doing it for this reason, but the byproduct would be that it would enhance his chances to play another position at the next level. And that's kind of how I see it.
Chris, what do you, I mean, and I know you told us before that you'd have to work him out, you'd have to look, but if you're talking about probability of making it to that next level, what do you think would be a couple of positions that you think that he has a chance to make it at the next level?
Well, the one that is really going to be tough and is a tough projection that I think is probably a little late this guy has the body build and the smarts and the instincts to have been a pretty good safety. Now, that's not a projection that's not going to work here going out. Where I think he would be best fit here going out is as a slot receiver. I think, and again, provided you have to work him out, his hands and whatnot, I think he can do some things from the slot where it's not just, it's not great speed, but got quickness, got strength. He'd be a type of guy that can elude defenders, and I think could make some plays after the catch in the middle of the field, strong. Those are the type of things that I think he could excel at the next level if he worked at it. There are different types of slots. They're the quick jitterbug slots. They're 185. They're the guys that are built like, running back type of slots. And then, and that's kind of what he is. He's kind of built like a, running back type of body. And I think he could do that, and I think he can also be that guy that can be a roster saver, as we call him. I think he'd be really good on special teams, and I think he'd be really good as your emergency running back. I think you can do certain things with him in the NFL as a running back with a small roster size. Again, at Alabama, people say, well, move him to running back at Alabama. And he'd be further behind the depth chart at running back than at quarterback. He'd better off staying at quarterback. They've got too many elite guys that are better. But you put them in certainly in the NFL, they've got better players, but you have small roster sizes. So you put him up against a guy that maybe can be that fourth running back, but you only keep three, and he can also be a slot guy, and he can also do some return stuff. He can also be a great job on not as a gunner, but an L4 or an R4 down in coverage. I think he could do some of those things. So I think his versatility would be a strength.
Raekwon Davis, what's his ceiling?
Really high. I think he has a chance to be the next great one there. I think he's kind of the next one that's coming up that is going to get his opportunity and kind of fall in line with what they've asked of those other guys. Strong, quick hands, plays with the heavy hands. That system is so well taught, and yet it's basically a line of scrimmage position. It's controlling your man in front of you, and it's playing with a great team concept that it is the big reason why that, they're talented, but as they come along, if they pay their dues, they learn how to play blocks, and they're really good in kind of building that wall. I think he could be that type of guy.
We're talking to Chris Landry. Let me also ask you about Mack Wilson. We look at a guy that obviously moves well in space. He led the team last year with interceptions, had the pick six down to the Sugar Bowl. But going back, just looking at Mack Wilson, is he that next string of linebackers, great ones that we've had here?
Could be. He certainly got a lot of ability, as you mentioned, athletic, movement in space. The instincts, I'm not quite sure that he's there yet. He's not there yet. I don't know if he'll be where those other guys were, but he absolutely has a lot of the pedigree that those other guys do. And there's a reason why there's kind of like a conveyor belt, an assembly line of those guys one after the other, because that system of working and learning behind others and learning how to prepare and, preparing to learn and playing in spot roles and then getting a little bit more on your plate and a little bit more and a little bit more. But by the time you get your spot, in your chance, that's when they start to flourish. And I think that is a possibility with him.
We're talking to Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com. It's a comprehensive website. Right now, they're offering summer savings special. Get all the summer roster analysis, team previews, daily notebooks from the college and NFL scene by joining now. You get 50% off any subscription package by using the coupon code SUMMER. Do it today. Have the football season locked up for our lowest rate ever. Limited time only, so get into the game today. LandryFootball.com. And I always love to promote Tuesday and Thursday podcasts. They drop every Tuesday, Thursday. Landry.com. LandryFootball.com. Chris, let's go to Buffalo here for a minute and ask you about A.J. McCarron and Josh Allen. What are you expecting there?
AJ's going to get the first shot. Josh is certainly was drafted kind of for their future guy with AJ. They don't know what they have in him. No one does. He's bright kid, worked hard, had very little reps, but what he did in the meaningful reps did a pretty nice job. So, listen, I always say this, in this situation, and people say, oh, poor, and they draft a young guy. Doesn't matter. He'll get his opportunity. If he plays well, he's going to have a job in this league somewhere. And you can't have enough quarterbacks because if you have one and you find one and then you find another, you can always move one of them. It's like real estate. They go up in value. So, listen, I don't know. I wish I can tell you exactly how I expect AJ to do. This is the team that went to the playoffs last year, but they were not a playoff team. So let me recircle back. That may seem like double talk. Now you got 6 teams that have to make it in each conference each year, and I think that they were a team that, back in you earn your way in somehow, some way, and they did. but they didn't look like a real playoff caliber team and didn't play like it in the first round of the playoffs. But they're not bad. This is not a team that's, got 3 or 4 win personnel. It's got a team that can be a 7 or 8 win type of team. And so what can AJ do? I think that he'll be really good in terms of making decisions. I think he'll be really good getting the ball out of his hands quickly. And we'll see where it goes from there. I think that as long as he plays well, Josh Allen's going to sit. Doesn't play particularly well, then you know that there's going to be a lot of moaning and groaning about getting the young guy in. So eventually, Josh Allen's going to get his shot. They didn't move up to take him to not, give him his shot. The only way AJ does it is he goes, he wins the job. I mean, he's going to win it early, get the job. He's going to get the ball early, and he goes out and he plays great, and they're winning. They're not going to mess with that. And if eventually they move to Josh, then AJ will have his opportunity there or somewhere else. Doesn't play well, then that's a different story. Then they'll move him quickly.
Chris, wasn't there a lot of concerns about accuracy with Josh Allen?
Yeah, there was, absolutely.
And then if you look at A.J. McCarron, he's right the opposite. I mean, he's one of those guys that, he threw very few interceptions. I mean, you may question a lot of areas there of his game, but it's not accuracy. He's a guy that's almost dead on the money.
Well, it is. However, you're talking about apples to oranges to some degree. Now, you certainly you're talking AJ in college, of course, because in the limited scope in play, he doesn't have a lot of snaps in the NFL, but again, did a good job when he did. It played on a much better college team, of course. Wyoming, not very poor team. And his accuracy percentage, better than his completion percentage. I mean, they threw the football down the field a lot more. He didn't have a lot of built-in bubble screens. But the biggest issue that I saw with Josh Allen is he had poor anticipatory skills. I mean, he had to see the receiver break open before he delivered the football, and that was a problem. And that is something that I would be concerned going forward. So we'll see how it plays out. But, again, when you draft a guy that high, they clearly have in mind that that's their future guy, and it's just going to be up to AJ to change their mind or, again, earn his way into an opportunity to go somewhere else, which, listen, that's the way it works in this league. You never know. I remember when Seattle gave Matt Flynn a ton of money. I mean, a lot more than AJ. I mean, they paid him a ton of money. They drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round, and there you go. It's like, week 4 or 5, Russell Wilson. Actually, it wasn't even before that. He beat him out in preseason, and Russell Wilson's the starter. Matt Flynn never played. Got all that money. He just, in this league, you gotta take some chances at quarterback, because if you don't have one, you're dead.
Chris, can you add anything to this Mark Ingram conversation there in New Orleans?
Well, listen, he appealed and he was denied. I'm just going to say this because I can't add what happened. All I know is everyone that tests positive, it was all a misunderstanding. It was, it didn't happen. They all deny it, and they all have it in their system. It's hard with any level of specificity to say, he did this or he didn't, because I don't know. You tell these guys is, look, you can't. There is I don't know if people are aware of this, but there's a card that every player carries that if they've got any question, if they got the sniffles, they got anything, they're not to do anything unless, you call and there's a hotline, they can get the information whether it's okay to take this or take that. So it's just hard for me to believe when they get tested positive for something that it was a misunderstanding, a false test, a false reading, because it never is. I mean, it never, ever, ever is a mistake. So I don't know what happened. I don't know why. I don't know that he was, quote unquote, trying to cheat. I'm not going to sit there and say that and get in somebody's mind, but pretty clear he tested positive for something, and you do that, you get suspended in the league.
That's why we feature Chris Landry every single week. That's the first that we've heard about this card. That's why we love to be able to pick your brain. LandryFootball.com. Football views from a coach, a scout, and administrator right now on LandryFootball.com. They're going through in a scout's breakdown of college football teams, and I'm sure you're going to be working your way through the SEC, LandryFootball.com. Go check it out. Follow those guys on the Twitter account, LandryFootball.com. It's a great subscription website. If you want to go a little deeper than just the average college football fan, you got to go check out LandryFootball.com. Chris, I always enjoy the conversations. I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.